Hello and welcome back to the channel. Today we return to Passant, a chess roguelike. This will be the final episode in a trilogy to complete stages 4 and 5 for a total of 15 different levels in our exploration of the full game release. Let's dive in. Alright, we'll continue where we left off. On the 4th stage, the first level of the 4th stage, we had all these different pieces, and it's just about near time that we start getting rid of some of these pawns, I believe, and start swapping it out for either some knights or some other pieces. Now, I've already learned that I really enjoy playing with the knights because they're the only ones that aren't affected by slippy chess. So knights land exactly where you expect them to land, where you want them to land, and that's where they're gonna stay. So I think my first thing is to get rid of one of these pawns. I can recycle it for, I think you recycle for half the price, so I guess maybe I hopefully got 50 cents for that. But regardless, we are going to purchase a knight and place it on that square. Nice. Okay, next order of business is taking a look at the potential badges. We have King Wind. I don't think I've seen this one before. Whenever you move a king, cover the square it moved from in poison. If a piece starts your turn on a poison square and you don't move it, it is destroyed at the end of your turn. Ghostly pieces are immune to poison. Again, this is one of those badges that kind of relies on your king getting relatively active, and in an ideal game, especially with push mode enabled where pieces can quite literally fall off the board, I don't think it's ideal to even think about activating your king. The other badge is Butterfly, and when a friendly piece takes an identical enemy piece type, for example a pawn takes a pawn, promote that piece to a piece 2 to 4 value higher. Oh, that's actually very interesting. The only problem is that if we're doing fair trades, unless my opponent gives me free material, it's unlikely that I would actually be able to use this, and it is a relatively expensive badge to buy, sitting at a hefty $5. The other options in terms of the coins are the Queen coin. Promote the selected unit to a queen for this game only, and then pass your turn. This could be handy if you have a piece that's positioned where could that piece move like a queen, you could defeat the enemy king, but it is only one use. I do still think it's worth the purchase, so we'll grab that as well, and I don't think we have any other orders of business to attend to, so with that we move on with $6 to the next round. All right, okay, here we go. Our options are, for round number 1, standard, which is a full set of chess pieces except one of the knights is swapped out for a man, or challenging, which is again a full set of chess pieces but 3 pawns are swapped out for men. Mans? We'll call them men. I'm thinking I should swap out the man and the knight so that I have all of these different knights to work with. And actually, wait a minute. Here's my thought process. If I do a little bit of maneuvering here, I might even start getting rid of some of these pawns, to be honest. I've never, I think, actually used a pawn for its intended purpose. So I'm gonna get rid of one of these pawns. I'll recycle it in order to move this man back. And my idea is that since these pieces are slippy, I could move this bishop to g2, it would slip to h3, and then I'd be looking at d7 on the actual board. Oh, and that's the thing that I didn't want to miss out on doing, is drawing arrows. Okay, I can't forget to draw arrows. I've forgotten now for the last 2 episodes, even though I've actively said that it would be funny because my arrows are terrible. Okay, I can't forget to draw arrows, but as far as my strategy goes, I think that makes some decent sense to put these bishops out to the side so that they're looking at the king. But actually, I'm gonna swap out the Archduke and this bishop, and I might even get rid of 1 extra pawn here. Yeah, we'll recycle that pawn as well, with the idea that I want this bishop to be able to do the same thing, looking at e7 instead. We have gotten rid of 2 of our pawns, which is a little bit of a counterintuitive strategy, but I do think it makes the most sense. So we'll rock and roll with this for now. All right, let's go ahead and I guess we'll just go with standard. I don't feel like we have much going for us, and there are a whole lot of pieces on the board, so we'll go with standard for this one. All right, again, we have victory conditions where you can actually win the game with stuff other than checkmate, which includes taking all of the enemy pieces, giving check 6 turns in a row, and for this round, plus 14 score for 2 turns. All right, as far as arrows go, there we go. We have arrows, we have highlighted squares. It's a little bit of a shame that our first arrow came in at the 3rd episode, but I finally remembered to do it. I mean, I was pretty focused on actually understanding the mechanics of the game, so hopefully this doesn't take away from that. If anything, it should make my explanations better and easier. But okay, let's rock and roll. As far as taking advantage of the king's position, let's start with bishop to b2, which will slip to a3, and it won't push anything because this piece has a piece behind it. Nice. We're now looking at e7. Boom, we've got an arrow demonstrating that, and the opponent moves their pawn to d6. and it slips to d5. Now, push does not enable if you capture a piece. So it's the first line when you move without capturing pieces, etc., etc. So it has to be a non-capturing move, meaning that should I take on e7, it wouldn't actually knock the king off. But what it does mean is that this pawn can't really move now, because I would move the bishop to d6, it would slip to e7, and it would push the king off. Now, with this d5 move, the bishop now looks at h3, which means were I to play bishop to h3, or rather, bishop to g2 to slip to h3, there would be a trade on the board there, right? The enemy bishop could take and then fall off the board, which I think might be worth it. I mean, I just need to start opening up the king side, or rather the king's position, so I can drop a piece on any one of these 3 squares and knock him off the board. So we'll continue with that. Bishop to g2 will slip to h3. The bishop does take and then flies off the board rather comically. Okay, now I'm thinking I could move the archduke to g4. It wouldn't slip because it's moving like a knight, and if you look over to the left, the archduke moves like all sorts of crazy different pieces, basically like every piece, I believe. So the archduke would move to g4, and it would be threatening, rather moving to e6, slipping to d7, and then knocking the king off the board. So I think that makes sense. We'll move the archduke to g4. Ooh, we get pawn to f5. Should I take, what happens? I slip to e6. That doesn't seem like it should be a concern at all. So I'm gonna go ahead and just take. I don't think I'm missing anything here. Okay, we get a man to f7, which means I can just move the archduke to d7. Oh no! Oh, forgot the slip. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and undo that move. That's terribly silly. Okay, we get a man to f7, which actually threatens the archduke, and I actually have to move the archduke away in order to land it on d7. So, okay, what if I just move the archduke back to h3? What happens then? Actually, no. Why wouldn't I just move it? Oh, I guess if I move it to f5, it would move to g4 anyways. This is tricky. Okay, wait, what if I move it to c5? I would be threatening to move it to d7, but then another piece could just move there, and I'd have to move out of the way. Okay, I'm thinking for the time being, we're just gonna move him, or rather, move the archduke back to f5, slips to g4, and to be frank, it's close enough. Okay, we do get a piece on d7, which now means that the archduke can no longer move there. And I'm thinking the most sensible continuation here is just starting to move the knights into the position. So let's go ahead and play, I think knight to d4 is a good move. Pushes their pawn back. We get pawn up to c5, which officially blocks off this diagonal. I mean, that really could not get any more blocked off. But it also means I could take on f5. It would slip the bishop to g8, the rook would take back, and that king is looking pretty darn exposed there. So I'm gonna go ahead and take on f7. Slips the bishop to g8. Oh, the opponent ignores it? They just take on e3? Okay, wait, why can't I just play? Oh, again, if I'm 1 square away, I can't give that check. Okay, I've got to keep that in mind. Not to mention, now we're forked here on d2 and f2 as well. Okay, I'm thinking here, I'm just gonna move my bishop to e6 and let it slide to d5, and I don't think that should cause me any more problems. Because of course the opponent can take and give check, but I should just be able to move my bishop to e6, f7, and then knock the king off on the next turn. So I'm going to play the bishop to e6. Okay, the enemy takes and promotes to a queen, which I could just take back with my knight, but now bishop to e6 slipping to f7 should just knock the king off. So we're gonna go ahead and play that. Nice, and with that we defeat the first round. Okay, sweet. We walk away with our well-earned $4. I feel like the first round is always the hardest grind because we're just getting back into it, or rather I am, firstly sitting at the board. Okay, let's see what our options are here. Bishops, which I'm immediately turned off by. We've got a man who is extremely slow, and we've got some interesting looking badges. Ranged warfare. Archers are 3 times as common in the shop. Which would be good if my archers weren't like the leftovers of my position. The other one is traveling salesman. The base sell price of coins is their full value instead of half their value. Okay, that's mildly amusing, but here we go. My favorite coin is the demotion coin. Demotes a selected unit to a pawn. I would have just that, like a whole army of just that coin if I could. Because I could just play against pawns. The money coin, select a piece to gain half its value in cash, then pass your turn. Okay, can I recycle this? I have literally no use for this whatsoever. I'd literally rather the dollar. Okay. Besides that, we can reroll for $2 or we can just move on with 8. And honestly, I think we're good to move on. So let's continue from here. Okay, before the boss fight, who has a buffalo. Okay, we'll read that when we get there. We have standard and challenging. This standard is looking an awful lot like the challenging from the previous round. And this challenging also is actually, except it has bishops instead. Oh, because this standard doesn't have a queen. I see. Okay, honestly, the biggest difference I'm seeing between these two is that in the standard, there aren't a lot lot of pieces that move diagonally next to the king. Now, obviously in front of the king, there are men, which do move diagonally. But over here, you can see we have 3 bishops and a queen next to the king, all doing a pretty darn good job of supporting those pawns in front. So I think we're gonna go with standard here in hopes of it being a little bit easier to break open this sort of shell in front of the enemy king's position. We'll start with a similar strategy. Bishop to b2, so it slips to a3. We get pawn to b5, and we'll do the same thing on this side with the opposite colored bishop. We get pawn to c5 in return. This bishop is now looking at our archduke, which is not ideal. Oh, and the bigger problem here is pretty much anywhere I move my archduke, I end up pushing off one of my own pieces. So for example, should I move it to g2, it would knock off all 3 of these pieces off the board. Obviously I can't stay on the diagonal or else the bishop still looks at my archduke. So pretty much my only option, I think, is to block with a knight, which is an extremely ugly move to make. But I don't think we have a better option here. So I guess we're going with knight to f4. Very, very ugly move. Oh, the bishop takes. Okay, sweet. So I can just go ahead and take back. Archduke would land on f4, and I don't think I'm in danger there. So we'll go ahead and take back. Nice, we get knight to b6. This pawn on c5 is looking awfully... Oh no, it's not awfully free. We'd slip to d6. But then the man would take back. Maybe these men are more annoying than the pawns would have been, to be honest. Because I'm realizing now I'm not sure how I push them away from the king. I was kind of expecting them to move forward at some point, but now that I think about it, that doesn't make any sense. Why would the opponent do that to themselves? So I may have to actually sacrifice some pieces here in order to open up that side of the board. For the time being, let's go and centralize the knight to e3. Oh, I inadvertently push my archduke to g5 and one of my other knights to c1. We get pawn up to c3. This sacrifice almost works, except that the opponent can take back with this man. Wait a minute, there's got to be something here, right? There's this bishop looking down, this archduke looking at both of these pieces, this bishop looking down at d7, and this bishop also looks down on f7. So surely I think there should be a combination there where I can remove enough pieces that I knock the king off the board. Oh, wait a minute. If I throw the knight onto f5, then there definitely is. So I'm gonna play knight to f5 first. Oh, the archduke moves over. Oh, and then we get blocked over here. You've got to be kidding me. Okay, wait a minute. Maybe it still works. Can I take with my knight here? The opponent would have to take back with this man, and then I can move my bishop to g7 and knock the king off the board. I think that works. I'm gonna go ahead and take here on e7. Okay, the opponent takes this way. Oh, I guess that makes more sense, just losing the man basically by choice. Because now there's no direct loss, but I should be able to just take anything I please because everything threatens bishop to d6, which slips to e7, which would push the king off. Yeah, so I should just be able to win here because I can take on g8, and then both of these different pieces, both the knight and the bishop, can threaten to go back to e7. And neither of these men can fill to replace the gap, 1 because this one's pinned, and 2 because the bishop can land on d7 and push the king off. So this should just be forced win now. Rook takes back, nice. Bishop on d6 slips to e7, pushes the king off. Nice, and we didn't even have to use our coins, so we've got that now for the boss battle. Not to mention, we walk away with our wonderful $4. Okay, let's proceed to the shop. We are reaching the end of stage number 4, 1 stage left after this. As far as badges go, we have sharp edges, cover cells A3 through A6. Oh, and poison, that's right. And this is one of those where if a piece starts on that square and doesn't move, it's poison. I'm not a huge fan of that. Again, I feel like it limits a lot of my mobility, especially now that one of my plans is actually to place the bishops on the side to look towards the center of the board. Otherwise, we have Fisher Random. At the start of the match, randomly swap the positions of your opponent's pieces, excluding the king. Now that's kind of tempting, but I'm also formulating a lot of my plan based off how the enemy pieces start. So I'm going to skip past that, and I think what I'm actually going to end up doing is buying another one of these queen coins, and I'm considering a knight, but the question is, where on earth would I put another knight? I guess I would just get rid of a pawn, wouldn't I? Sure, we'll do that. We'll get rid of one of these pawns, and actually, do I purchase a knight now? Because I only have $9 left. I love my knights. Let's go ahead and grab another knight. Why not? All right, next round is the boss round. We're facing a bunch of pawns, what I think is a buffalo. We've got men, we've got a queen, a bishop, and 2 rooks. The buffalo modifier. Buffalo. Your opponent has a buffalo piece, which moves like a knight and a camel. Buffalo can also be promoted to an Amazon. Yeah, okay, that's gonna be demoted to a pawn on the first turn, 100%. I think I can. Wait, can I use coins on badges? I don't remember, to be honest. But that's not our main focus. Our main focus is adjusting now our position onto the enemy's setup. I don't think we can optimize more than this, to be honest. We've got the long range pieces ready to move towards the outskirts of the board to look inwards, and then we've got our knights, who are actually like our reliable, dependable pieces, in the middle of the board, ready to stomp down the center. I really think we're about as ready as we're gonna be, so let's rock and roll. All right, time for the boss round, activating the boss badge. There he is. Can I use this coin on the buffalo? Because to be frank, I don't really want to have to calculate camel moves. I feel like that's how I lose very quickly. Nice. All right, so first thing we do is demote that buffalo to a pawn, and suddenly this is more like a normal game. This pawn intends to move to a3, so we're gonna go ahead and place our bishop on a3 by slipping it there. It pushes the pawn back, and the opponent insists on dropping it on a4, where I don't believe it actually causes any concrete problems. So we'll move on with the original plan. Bishop to g2 will slip to h3, and now we have two bishops looking towards the middle of the board. Not to mention the Archduke also looking at c7, although that's a little bit less concrete. We've also got this bishop on a2 staring at f7, and there has to be some sort of combination here that's favorable for us. I'm thinking we start with knight to b4, because there are unfortunately ideas of these pawns pushing, supported by these two rooks. And considering I have basically all minor pieces on the queen side of the board, that's really not ideal for me to just allow. So I'm thinking knight to b4, followed by knight to d5, and in that in between, it stops these pawns from advancing. In fact, it would actually push one of them back. Oh, wait a minute, it would also push my own bishop back. Never mind, that doesn't work. Okay, but I still think the idea of starting to develop these knights is warranted, because now I can have more pieces looking at c7 and looking at the king supported by the Archduke. Unfortunately, I think that attack has to happen on the queen side, because over here we have men and we have pawns supporting all of these squares, whereas c7 is only supported by the queen. So I'm thinking we'll rock and roll with that. Let's go knight to e3. Oh, whoops, pushed him back. We get pawn to g5, which I don't think creates any new threats. So we'll proceed with knight to d5 now, staring at that c7 pawn. Ooh, we get pawn to f5. Why can I not just take that with check? The bishop covers f7. The queen would have to take back. Archduke takes c7. Would be mate as far as I can tell. We wouldn't even slip because there's a rook on b8, so I'm pretty sure I can just take. Let's check. Oh, of course, because the king... Okay, right. I mean, I sound disappointed. This is completely crushing now, but I forgot that the king can slip out of the way, quote unquote, past the defense of the bishop covering f7. Okay, but now the king is exposed, so this should still be completely winning. For example, bishop to e6 would slip it to f7, push this piece off, push that piece off, push the king up to h5, and surely something follows there, like knight to g5, for example, which could push the king off. So bishop to e6, check, pushes him off, puts him in check. The king goes back to h6. Again, this bishop can't do anything from here. Should it move to g6, it would actually just slip to h5. There's the first bad arrow. Nothing new here. But there has to be something here for us. I mean, weirdly enough, knight to e8 seems like an option as well. Threatens knight to g7, which would push the king off. The thing is, it would force the opponent to sacrifice the queen as well. I would take, it would slip my bishop off the board. Oh, wait a minute, it wouldn't sacrifice. Hold on, I forgot. This is the slip one. This slippy badge is, I coined it the sort of underlying badge that doesn't really do anything in the first episode, and I'm honestly regretting it because it seems to be the reason I lose a lot of pieces. Although the push badge has done its fair share of damage, moves like these, where the queen can take and then slip to f8, and then it's literally just a free knight off the board, have caused me plenty of headaches, at least for me to now respect this badge as well. Another option here is to take on f5, would put the king in check, would slip the bishop to e6. King would probably just have to move back here. It would also push this pawn back, I believe. Oh no, because it's a capturing move, so I guess it wouldn't push anything. King would move back. I'm a little afraid of it being on g7 though. That doesn't seem very concrete. Oh, wait a minute, there's something better here. I think we just move the Archduke to f4. It would slip to e5, covers g7, and then the threat is Archduke to g6, pushes the king off. And I think the only choice the opponent would have there is to slip the king back to f8. But even then I can just move the Archduke to g7, pushes the king off. So I think that's winning. We'll move the Archduke to e5, queen takes on p6, and then we can move the Archduke to f6, slips to g7, pushes the king off. Nice. Finally starting to understand how this kind of all comes together. All right, sweet. With that, we actually defeat the boss round. I'll be honest, didn't really feel like a boss round after we demoted that buffalo. So now I love that coin even more. But what on earth is this badge? Oh, we've got another knight available. Finally, we have a queen that we can buy, and I'm at the point now where I don't even think I want a queen because I've gotten so comfortable with my setup. But okay, our badges are remove king. Remove the king from your setup. Removing this badge will return it to the setup board. What? It's also a rare badge. What is... I'm sorry, I can remove my king from my setup? Huh, that seems really strong. I mean, I guess there are other win conditions. Maybe I can lose in those different ways, but the king just seems to be the biggest issue by far because that gets rid of checks and mates. So I guess I would really like that. But okay, let's look at the other ones. Nest egg on round start add $3 value to the sell price of this badge. Okay, interesting. I'm not really with the whole buying and selling thing. Maybe a little bit earlier in the stages, had I realized that it would be 5 instead of 3, it would have actually been worth something. But the other options are the coins, which are helping hand, immediately give a random piece on your setup board a special modifier. Not a huge fan of those. And then the coins are boost, immediately transform the lowest value piece on your setup board into a piece 1 to 3 value higher. That one we have used, and it's how I got one of these archers. I'm a little concerned it would give me another archer though, like in place of a pawn, and I don't think that's worth it for $3. Okay, so I guess we're going with remove the king. Thank you very much. No king for me. Bye-bye birdie. Which also means we have room for another knight, so don't mind if I do. Realistically, there's no way on earth I use all of these knights, but hey, you never know. All right, we are on the first round of the final stage. Standard goes for $4, which is pretty much a normal setup, but there's an extra queen instead of a knight, and I believe an extra bishop as well. And then challenging, which introduces a camel, a man, a bishop in front of the king, all of the same stuff. So honestly, we're gonna go with standard on this one. I don't think my strategy changes. I think this setup is good as is. Or wait, actually, wait a minute. Maybe I should just centralize the Archduke, because you see all these bishops and queens looking towards like the outside of the board. I don't want to run into the same problem I did last time where that bishop on b8 looks at my Archduke. So we're gonna go ahead and move on with this. I think is good. All right, player turn. That is me. Let's go ahead and move the bishops out to the side as we've done in previous games. And already I feel the power of my position brewing. Now, these are very well defended pawns now, right? They have a whole bunch of backup from behind. So I'm not even sure how to single out which one is the weakest. I guess e7 would actually be the weakest because it's the queen and the king itself defending. So, okay, let's continue with knights. Knight to d4 seems like a sound move. We get g5, which develops the bishop, targets the knight. I'm thinking knight to f5 continues with our plan of targeting that e7 pawn, would also move this pawn out of the way, potentially losing us the man, but actually the queen would slip off the board, so I guess it wouldn't be losing us the man. Let's go ahead and play knight to f5. Nice, the queen develops to g6, targets the knight. Now, does this sacrifice work? Or rather, does it do anything? Knight takes. I mean, we have 3 attackers, there's only 2 defenders, so it has to win something, surely. Should we take? The queen takes back. Bishop would take, or even better, actually, Archduke would take, right? No, maybe the bishop should just take. I don't know. All of these moves seem incredibly winning. I guess I should want to keep the knight on the board, shouldn't I? Yeah, I think I should take with the bishop instead. Queen would take back, knight would take, and the knight is actually valuable because should the knight move out of the way, it's always threatening to move back. It's not like going to slide out of the way or anything weird like that. And then it also allows the Archduke to deliver check to the king. So I'm thinking we take here with the bishop. Whoa, bishop takes over here and knocks off itself. Let's go ahead and take the queen with check. Knocks off our own bishop, but then the king is in check, and knight to e7 is winning no matter what. Oh, we get a little queen sacrifice. Interesting. Okay, so it's not completely winning, but it is much, much better for us. Let's go ahead and take back with the knight. Pawn to a3. Let's give this check, double check rather. Nice, the king moves out of the way. I can move the Archduke to e6, slips to e7. Boom, off it goes. All right, sweet. With that, we defeat round number 1, walk away with our hefty $4 prize, and proceed to the shop. Sell me another knight, please. What is this? Queen coin. Oh, so I thought the queen was yellow originally for some reason. I was like, what is that? Okay, let's read all of them. We've got nest egg. Not a huge fan of the money ones. I'll take 2. At the start of the match, record the lowest value piece you own and add it to your setup after the match ends, if there's space. Badge units and kings cannot be cloned. Not bad, honestly, a pretty darn good one. I would just get rid of my pawns, to be honest, and get some free knights, I suppose. The only problem is it would clutter up my position, which stops my original idea of immediately developing the bishops. And of course, I could move the knights out first or something like that, but I don't want to overcomplicate what's honestly already working quite well for us. We do have another queen coin at our disposal, which might not be a bad idea, but I already have 2, and they pass your turn, so I don't think it's worth spending the money on. We have archers, pawns, and then we have a princess. Knight moves are considered to be jumps and cannot be blocked, so it moves like a bishop and like a knight. That is very amusing, I have to admit. All right, you know what? You got me. But it's $7 though, it's so expensive. How bad can it be though? Like, it looks so good. Let's just get rid of this darn pawn, recycle it. It just seems very powerful because being able to move into the position like a bishop, so getting you to the other side of the board very quickly, at least much faster than any of these knights could. And then also giving a check like a knight seems very, very powerful. Or alternatively, moving like a knight to give check like a bishop also seems very strong. So we'll go ahead and buy that. We're now down to our last $3. Nope, that's not where you're going. You're going over here. I think that makes sense. You can centralize relatively quickly without pushing anybody out of the way. All right, next round. Round number 2, we have standard, which introduces a camel, but the normal pawn setup at the beginning, there's an extra queen instead of a bishop, there's a third rook, and then there's challenging, which is every piece under the sun, basically, just a medley soup of every piece you can possibly imagine. To be frank, the difficulty difference is not that large percentage-wise, but this one seems much more practically easy to play. I think, right? This just seems very well, like every piece defends every other piece here. That just seems absolutely awful. That boss modifier seems amazing too. Okay, let's move on with standard. I wish I had some demotion coins. That would come very much in handy here, but okay, we'll continue with what we have. First thing we're gonna do is move these bishops off to the side of the board, and same thing on the other side. Now looking at d7, which would immediately win the game, but we're blocked by f5, so no longer a possible move. However, we could take, with the bishop on d5, it would slip to e6. Problem is, it wouldn't actually be threatening to win anything. Actually, yes, it would, because it couldn't slip. So wouldn't that just be a fork? Wait a minute, I think I can just take, right? I slip to e6. Ah, the king has to come out to play, because there's literally no way to stop me from playing check here or check here, pushing the king off the board. Okay, wait, this is already completely winning. How do you move again? Okay, you're defending g5 at the moment, fair enough. Okay, surely there's a nice way to finish this off. How do we play this? Oh, look at this, ugly move. Actually, it's quite beautiful. Archduke to g4, slips to h5, gives check, covers these squares like a rook, covers the square like a knight. Of course, the king can't move back because of the bishop and the archduke itself, but it's free, you say. The king can't take or else it falls off the board. I'm pretty sure this is checkmate. Oh, it is checkmate, or the opponent surrenders? Wait, what? Okay, I feel like I've been robbed of a checkmate, but okay, that was a winning move for us anyways. A nice little archduke sacrifice. First time I've ever said that string of words all together. We've got some interesting badges here waiting for us. What on earth is this? Coin machine, promote. At the start of each round, receive 1 promotion coin. I've already got 2, to be honest, and they're cheaper than $4. The other badge is winning bet. At match start, mark 2 friendly pieces. When either of these pieces take a piece of equal or higher value, gain $1. That honestly, again, would be very amusing had I done it at the beginning. Also, there's no space, so I would have to give up something here. And I'm definitely not putting my king back on the board, and I'm definitely not getting rid of my wonderful Franz Ferdinand badge. But we do have a demotion coin. Boom, that's an instant buy for me, even though now I only have $4 left. And the other one is the coin slot upgrade. First coin slot can now also hold badges. Not really worth it for me right now, especially when I only have $4 anyways. All right, so let's rock and roll. Next round is the boss round, the final round. What on earth are there 4 kings on the board for? Oh no, there are 4 kings. Okay, well, wait a minute. Look at this, look at this. This was here this whole time? I'm blind. Stage 5 out of 5? That don't tell me that for the last 2 episodes, I could literally just look over here and see what stage we were on. Okay, whatever. Better late than never, I suppose. Okay, stage 5 out of 5, which means this is the 15th and final level. Let's read the modifier. 4 non-bread? That's all I can think. Your opponent has 4 kings. You cannot place the enemy king in check or checkmate until they have only 1 king. Oh, man. Wait, maybe I can demote one of them. That would be amazing. Then it would only be 3 kings, and then once I get rid of 3 kings, I'm having a good time. Not to mention, I can get rid of one of these kings on the first turn with my Empress, but I'd honestly rather do it with a bishop if that's how we're going to be playing this. Right, because this bishop looks at the f7 pawn, but it could just be looking at the king. So I guess I should place this bishop on b2. Is there anything else that I should do so that I can have more attacking opportunities? I don't think so. I think we're good as is. So let's select and rock and roll. All right, on my very first turn, I should be able to just capture this king. Nice, okay. Queen takes back, sure, fair enough. I can take with the Empress another king. Is that worth it? I think it is. Even though the Empress will be off the board, I do have to get rid of all 4 of the kings, well, all 2 of them now, before I can win. Can I use a demotion coin? That would be kind of funny if I could. Can I demote one of you? Cannot be used on a king? But what about you? Are you an actual king? Oh, okay, you are an actual king. All right, right click to cancel. All right, fair enough. What else can we do here? We've gotten rid of 2 of the bishops. So there's no dark squared bishop anymore to work with. We also don't have an Empress either. Okay, I'm thinking we take a moment to get rid of one of these queens. Let's turn that into a pawn. Bishop takes on c2. I believe I can take back with my archer. I don't like that I'm on the defense now. Oh, queen to h8, perfect. That's exactly the kind of move we like to see. Nice, nice. Okay, f7 now looks extremely weak, but actually, weirdly enough, I don't have a way to capitalize on it. Oh, wait, I can use my queen coins. Oh, wait, I can just bring more queens into the situation. Okay, how do I do that? Queen coin, replace the archer. Nice, well justified. Wait a second, that's just free, isn't it? minute. Oh wait, okay, I always forget this. No, it's not free. Should I take, slip to e6, lose? Okay, interesting. Oh, wait a minute, but what I can do here is take on f7, right? It gives check to the king. It wouldn't slip because of the knight on g8. Should the king take, it would move to g6, and it would fall to the hands of the queen. So maybe I don't care that I'm losing my archduke for a queen, especially when I can spawn more queens in anyways. I think I can just take here. Okay, the queen takes. Oh yeah, what badge was that? When I lose the Archduke, it fills up all the blank spaces with pawns. Sure, so I've lost the Archduke, I suppose. Oh, do I take here and leave the opponent with a queen on the board? Or do I take back the queen? Wait a minute. I'm thinking back now. If my original concern was that I couldn't take the queen because I would slip to e6, but I'm losing the Archduke anyways, then that pawn recapture doesn't mean anything, right? Oh no, it would slip to f5 and the queen can't see g6, so bishop f7 doesn't work anyways. I don't know, somehow it feels better than this though. Okay, that's tough. Yeah, I think I'd rather take this back. Yeah, and play from this position. This makes a lot more sense to me. Okay, so what was my original concern? I would take and then slip to e6, right? Well, the interesting thing is there's no king to defend, so I don't even have to leave my Archduke here. That's totally something I decided to do. Okay, so how do we feel maybe about Archduke to f3? I mean, obviously I'm dropping knights and stuff back here, but the concern, or rather the focus of terrible arrow, the focus is getting into the position and getting at these two final kings. So maybe we'll do that. We'll go Archduke to f3, slide it up to g4. Okay, the queen shuffles over again. Now I can take though. I would slip to g6, and whatever takes back, I'm looking at bishop to f7, and that looks very promising. So I think we'll rock and roll with that. We'll trade off here. Nice, the opponent does take, and now since we've traded off the Archduke, we get a whole bunch of pawns replacing, but now I can just take, right? It gives check to the king. It would not slip because of the knight, and the king can't take back because there's a piece in the way. Oh wait, no, it can take back. It just wouldn't move to g6. Oh, wait a minute, hold on. Okay, this isn't going exactly how I hoped it would go, but let's continue with pawn to c4 and start focusing on actually developing some pieces for right now. Okay, the bishop takes back. Let's promote this pawn to a queen, and we get pawn to d5. Okay, we can't let the opponent develop too darn much. Let's start pushing some more pawns, and we're looking for bishop to h3 as well, which we do get to play, threatening double duty on d7, which is immediately blocked off by the pawn on f5. Is en passant available to us? Oh, it's not. Okay, fair enough. However, I could take on f5. It would slip to e6, and then I'm still threatening bishop to d7 because the knight is in the way. I'm also threatening bishop to f7 because, again, there's a knight in the way. So I should be able to just take. Nice. King to d7, sweet. We just get to directly take the king, and the enemy king takes back. Now on d6. So pretty far away from the side of the board, but also centralized, which means it should be pretty weak. Now, as far as actually bringing this home, I'm not sure what to make of this. I guess we have to start developing a lot more pieces, right? Because now we have all these pawns to deal with, which are quite pesky. Oh, I actually could just sacrifice the knight as well. It's a little bit desperate. So first I'm going to play queen to e4, slide it to f5. This drops. We're also looking at, oh, we're not looking at the knight. The queen would fall off. Okay, let's go ahead and take back here first before anything else. It would push my own knight off. But it gets rid of the enemy piece, so might as well. Let's go ahead and just take back. Oh, we slide off first. That's right. Okay, we get pawn to d3. I'm really losing a grip here with all these pieces. It's a little bit confusing. Now if I should take, the queen would get pushed back, but it wouldn't do anything else, I don't believe, so I think that's fine. Oh, it's a capture. We wouldn't push. Yeah, I'm losing a grip right now. Okay. We get pawn to c4. That is definitely just free. Check. King moves back. Let's go ahead and take again on e5. Knight takes back and we'll recapture. We've now opened up the center. The king is very much exposed. That is a free knight. Don't mind if I do. Pawn up to c4. Easily captured by the queen. There are a lot of winning ideas here. Okay, the king takes. Okay, they get us with the sneaky play where the king slides through to grab a free piece, but it's very exposed and there are two queens on the board, so I can't imagine there aren't checkmating ideas here. In fact, it might even be easier just to take all of the enemy pieces. That's how few pieces there are left on the board. We get pawn up to a6. Let's go ahead and just move the queen out of the way. There's literally no need to overcomplicate this whatsoever. Pawn up to g5, sure. Let's give a check on f7. Pushes that pawn off. Nice. We grab a, oh, not a free knight because we would slip. King could take and then go through. I don't know. It still is kind of tempting, to be honest. Yeah, let's just go with that. I know it's the lazy way out, but to be honest, it probably wins us the game anyways. We're going to play queen to c4. Knock the pawn off on a6. See you later, alligator. Pawn goes up to b6. How else do I knock off more pieces here? Because that just seems to be the strategy. We'll go queen to d5. We'll slip it to e5. Nice, and the opponent surrenders. Don't mind if I do. I was threatening queen to g7 there to push off these kingside pawns. And nice, with that we win and unlock setup number 5, which could be quite fun. All right, with that we'll exit to the main menu, and we actually do complete a full run of only one of the setups. There are 4 available, now 5 with the most recent one we just unlocked. But this will be the last episode for this trilogy for the time being. In the future, if I've really revisit Passant. I'll consider doing it all in one sitting for like a huge mega episode, but it's more likely that it'll be broken up into like 1 or 2 episodes, or rather 2 or maybe 3, probably just 2 episodes. Tomorrow we're trying out another game though, which I'm very excited to play as well. I will see you guys in the next one.